Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page where I do this daily live stream all around the divination card or the oracle card that I chose in the morning. And that is all about the energy that's flowing today that's most important for us to know about for our soul growth, for our highest good, of course, right? And it also sparks a spiritual conversation. And that's where I think that we have the best time here. So welcome. Today is Sunday, March 31st. Can you believe it? It's the last day of March. Can't believe that. You know what I remember the most clearly in March? We were having the discussion about the Ides of March. That's March 15th, right? Yeah. The last 2 weeks went by really, really quickly, very quickly. What do they say? Time flies when you're having fun. That must be it. That must be it. All right. So before we get rolling at all, I'm going to share and like our live stream, and because we got lots to cover, and I want to make sure that I get this in. Got to load it. There we are. There we are. So I'm going to share it over to my my newsfeed, just so my friends know that I'm live streaming. And asking them, of course, to please join. There we go. There's that one. And I don't know if Stephanie's going to be with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it over to 2 of our groups. Wait a minute. I'm going to share it. Write a post. There we go. And we're going to do... I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand Facebook. Sometimes. Because I do it this way almost every day, and now it won't let me send again to more than one group. That's weird. All right. Let me turn down the sound. And we'll try sharing this way. I guess I'm not supposed to do that. I can't get that done either way, the way I usually do. Well, what can you do, right? All right. One last try, and then if I can't do it, we're just going to keep going. They only give you a couple of choices now, and I'm not sure what that means. So we're going to send it over to at least one of the groups. We're going to say, hi, peeps. And let them know I'm live streaming. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. Took a little bit longer than usual. That rascally Facebook. I always say, just when we feel pretty confident that we kind of know Facebook and we can get around it pretty well and doing all our posts, they go ahead and they change something, and it's like, oh man, what happened to that, right? Whatever that was. So let's see. Rochelle did join us, but she looks like she left. Julie's here. Hello, Julie. Good to have you here. Good to have you here on a Sunday afternoon. Rochelle was here, and she said she shared and she grounded, but she had to leave. So it's good that you came by and said hello. It was like a drive-by wave, right? So, hello there. Today's Sunday. Man, did we have a busy weekend here. Yeah. Started out on Friday. I knew that Marley was going to be here doing our bookkeeping and getting things on the poised, right, to finish up the taxes and that kind of thing. I knew she was going to be here most of the day. And one of my sisters showed up, Teresa. We had this planned. We were trying to get together since January. So she was here for the weekend and we had a blast, but it was so busy, so busy. We even worked on Star Nation stuff because Teresa's really, really good at newsletters and so helping to create the template for the newsletter and trying to make things so much easier for both Julie Shumway Hill and I. And so we worked on that. That took a couple hours, but we know it was fun. It's fun to sit next to somebody as you're both working. We both had our laptops open, and having fun. We had music on and, laughing, joking around, but getting a lot of work done at the same time. So it made it fun. Yeah, and then we made paella for supper last night. I don't know if you guys have ever had that. It turned out pretty good. It tasted really, really good. But there's a few things I would do a little bit differently the next time. Yeah, and we actually have to have at least another person, preferably another 2 or 3 people, because it makes so much. And I know people say that you can reduce the recipe, cut the recipe down. I know, but it's kind of nice to be able to have that a special dish that you only cook for a certain amount of people and have those people in, right? Yeah. So it was a busy weekend. It was one of those weekends where it felt like there was 2 days in one because, like the morning is one day and the afternoon is another. Do you ever have that feeling? Yeah, that's how busy we were. And but it was fun. It was good time. It was a good time. Hello, Jill. Good to have you here. I like your profile picture. Is that a gnome with a blue conical hat on? Or is that Father Christmas? I can't really tell. What's a St. Nicholas? St. Nicolaus. I don't know. I like it though. I like it. Yeah. All right. So the cards today. We have a card in the reverse. And it's very very interesting. Very interesting combination of the cards today. Yeah. Let's see. The first card is the one that came in reverse. So we're going to get that out. I just need to double check the Gaelic pronunciation guide to make sure I'm pronouncing it the best I can. Okay. All right. So it's the Wren, and it's pronounced Drui-en. Drui-en. Yeah. And so I'm going to show it to you in the reverse, okay? And what I'd like you to do, if you haven't done your grounding today, you might want to pause and just take a moment and do that, okay? Because we find that when we're grounded and we're centered, we take in more information, right? Information that we might not totally understand on the mental level, in the mental body, but the rest of our bodies certainly take in all the information. So, hi, Pat. Haven't showed the first card yet. I'm just asking people to make sure they're grounded before we begin, because we have the first card in reverse. And so to be able to be grounded so that we take in as much of the information as possible, okay? Yeah. Madonna's here too. Good afternoon, Madonna. It's good to have you in the house. I like it when you show up. Madonna is going to be in short period of time. Short time. She's going to be our newest author here at Star Nations Publishing. Yeah, we got some good stuff coming up. I'll tell you more about that toward the end of the show. But anyway, the first card that came today came in the reverse. And so we know that when we're grounded and centered, we can take in more of the information that's meant for us, right? So if you haven't grounded today, is to take the time right now just to pause, just a moment, and do your grounding, okay? All right. Yeah, that's right, Madonna. Woohoo. And that's putting it lightly. Yeah, we got some good stuff. Good stuff coming up. Okay, so the first card is Wren, and the Gaelic word for Wren, if I'm pronouncing it even close to being it, is Drui-en. 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 All right, you ready? Big deep breath in, and on the exhale, right? Taking a look at the first card, Wren, in the reverse. Okay. Now, our mental mind sometimes gets kind of uncomfortable and a little bit cranky when it sees something that you don't know quite what it is. So that's why the deep breath and the exhale, taking in more oxygen and relaxing, just even a tiny bit. And you'll be able to take in more of the information without really maybe understanding it on the mental level. Okay? Yeah. This is a wren. You can tell it's surrounded by limbs, right? So we know one is an oak, and then we have the ivy. We also have eggs there at the top. Eggs. And we have water in the background. The wren is holding something in his mouth, which happens to be a feather. Oh, and that's not water, that's sky. Sorry about that. Because then we have lightning too. Right? In the reverse. Okay, I'm going to pull it back again so you can see the whole card. Really take it in. The words associated with Wren is humility, cunning, and God. Humility, cunning, and God. Right? Yeah. Put a bookmark in my page. Drui-en. Drui-en. Now, what I'm going to do is show you the cover because I forgot to do this, okay? Sorry about that. This is the deck that we've been using since February 1st. Druid Animal Oracle by Stephanie and Philip Cargome, illustrated by Bill Worthington. All three from the UK, from a Druid's point of view, modern day Druid. And the deck, the cards were published in 1996. Okay? For those of you who would like to know that. I have learned quite a bit from this book and these cards. Yeah. And the reason why I showed you the deck is because this Wren card in the reverse, we need to remember that the perspective is coming from a Druid point of view and coming from a UK point of view, which may be just a tad bit different than we would normally understand here in the States. Okay? All right. Yeah. Pat says, I feel like the wren looks upside down. Well, I guess there must be a reason then why we got this card in the reverse. In the reverse. Hey, Rochelle's back. She says, hi, I'm back. Oh, hi, Deb. Good to have you here too, as you're listening. Good to have you here. And Peggy Bull. Hello, Peggy. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping in and being with us for this conversation about the Druid animal cards and getting the Wren. Drui-en is the Gaelic word. Right. Gotta open my book again. And the words associated with Wren is humility, cunning, in other words, your wits, right? Gather your wits around you, and God. The card shows a wren holding a feather in its beak as it guards its nest filled with eggs. Tradition calls the wren's nest the Druid's house. That's the Druid's house. A bolt of lightning representing Tarnus, the bull god of thunder and lightning, the oak tree, and the wren. The Ogham sign in the stone is of Drui, the oak. Okay, so the nest is known as the Druid's house. And what do we know about eggs, right? It's about fertility, it's about abundance, it's about creativity, procreation. Yeah. And so there's the feather, and that's lightning coming from the sky. In the reverse, it looks like water, doesn't it? That's what I called it at first. Yeah. Oh, look, Stephanie's in the house. Stephanie says, run additional resource, giving us some information about it being a totem. Thank you, Stephanie. Added information there. All right, so if the card had been given to us upright, right? Upright, it would have, Drui-en allows us to glimpse the beauty of God or the goddess in all things. The Wren tells us that small is beautiful, and that self-realization lies not in grandiosity or apparent power, but in humility, gentleness, and subtlety, right? And drawn in the reverse, this could mean that you need to look at whether your humility and gentleness actually render you invisible to others. Are they your way of defending yourself from life from others, rather than facing life in its difficulties? Perhaps you also need to look at how you use your wit, your native wit, cunning. It is easy for the habit of building on the work of others to become a dishonest exploitation of others' achievements, just as it's easy for cunning to become negative rather than positive. Remember that the story of the wren and the eagle can also be interpreted in a way that sees the wren as a cheeky and dishonest upstart who naively believes he can fool others and win status for himself through his ruse. Cleverness and building on the work of others require wisdom and honest skill if they're to be of value. Okay. So basically, when it's in the reverse is for us to have more self-awareness, right? And how we use our wit. And how are we using our own medicine, our own power, our own gifts? And that perhaps in the reverse, if we're honest with ourselves, we could be sensing or being aware of an imbalance in how we use our wit. And to also take a look at, do we use our own definition of what humble and humility is to hide? There's to hide our gifts, and possibly, I don't know, the word responsibility comes through. To take responsibility for our own gifts. In other words, the application of them. Yeah, that when we hide behind a facade of humility or being humble, that means that we're not using our own gifts to their full potential, possibly. And we can only answer that for ourselves, right? Yeah. I mean, it's good to be humble. It's one of the 7 blessings, right? To be humble, to have humility. But it's in that balance, I think. I think it's in the balance. And if we stand behind them in a way that it obscures, that's a good word, isn't it? Obscures our ability to use our gifts. In other words, we can use our gifts, but we hang back. And the thing is that for me, and you guys will have to do this for yourselves, all right, is your own definition of what humility or being humble is. Doesn't mean that you're not using your gifts and you're not being seen. You can use your gifts and you can be seen. The difference in that is that you're not being boastful about it, right? Yeah. I guess that has more to do with our ego, doesn't it? Yeah. So if we're out of balance with it, if we're self-aware, then we can say, oh, okay, then maybe how do I bring this into balance? And we're asking our spiritual team for that help, right? Show me how to do this. Tell me how to do this. Yeah. And then even asking yourself the question, if you're hiding behind it, why? Why am I doing that? Maybe it is more about, if you're hiding, right? It has more about self-esteem, self-worth. I can remember way back when, it would have been early 2000s, when when Spirit brought my healing dress to me in a dream. And it took me 5 years, right, to bring it into the physical world. Why? Well, part of that reason was because I kept asking, why me? It's just me. Why me? Who am I to do something like that? Why would I be selected for something like that? And so I was hiding behind the humility and the humbleness of it. And what it was more about my self-esteem and my self-confidence than it was actually being humble or to have humility. Yeah, that's an example. So it took me 5 years to bring that dress into the world. Yeah. I'm just checking the chat here. Getting caught up. Rochelle is saying, I feel very confused looking at this card, overwhelming. Yeah, you know why? I think, and I have to agree with you, Rochelle, is because there is such detail in this card. There's such detail. And there again, I was going to show it to you guys right side up. But my team is saying, no. They need to take this in its fullness in this way. Yeah. And sometimes, here's another one. This one's good. Okay. In some Native American cultures, they talk about the contrary. They have stories about the contrary. We have people who are play that role of being a contrary. And in some tribal nations, the contrary is a person who does things backwards. right? They do things backwards. Like they might wear their clothes inside out. Like when you're talking to them, they might be saying yes when they mean no. They may be telling you a story about, like I went through the door and he's contrary, so that means he didn't go through the door. And it's confusing for some people, right? And in some people, some contraries, like at powwows, will dance in the opposite direction. But when they do that, they're also praying. They're praying. They're praying for the balance. They're praying for peace in a place that may be not peaceful, right? So they do the opposite. Yeah. And not that I know a lot about it, but in the Lakota tradition, their contrary is called Heyoka, and so they're in the contrary. The sacred clown is what they're called. So I can understand when you first take a look at this card and you're really taking it in. And that's why I was suggesting that you take this big, deep breath in. And on the exhale, is calling to your team and asking them to help you to take in the information, even though you might not understand it on the mental body, but to take it in as much as you possibly can. And if you haven't done your grounding for today, you might want to pause and do that. It'll help you to get the information from spirit that's coming through the card, the message. Okay? In the contrary, reversed. So if the Wren is about humility, cunning, and God, and then so the reverse would be the opposite of that. Okay? Would be the opposite of it. So not necessarily being humble. This is what we have to kind of discern for ourselves coming through the card. If we're using our humility to hide behind, okay, or if we are abusing, misusing our power, and not and using our wit for negative rather than positive. In other words, you're manipulating people, right, with your wit. Yeah. Sometimes, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this in one way or another, sometimes that misusing your wit comes across as people being sarcastic, right? Yeah. Sarcasm. Using their intelligence to make other people feel inferior. That's out of balance. And yet this Wren, Drui-en Gaelic, is little. He's tiny. And yet he carries a lot of medicine. He's got big medicine in a very small body. Because see that nest? That's known as a druid's house. Surrounded by the oak, that's the druid tree. So I think I really felt when I looked at this card when in the upside down, in the reverse, in the contrary. Yeah. I can see the confusion there. I can see where we could possibly be using our intelligence, our native wit, in the misuse of that, to obscure, to confound. These are all Harry Potter spells. Obscure, confound. Yeah. connected to the Druid. So, I wish Mervyn was here because we could ask him that. We could ask him, in the Druid belief, the Druidry, modern day Druids, do they have Druids who are in the contrary? That's a good question, don't you think? And take a look at that lightning. Take a look at the lightning. In this direction, it doesn't really look like lightning, does it? And I'm also looking at the feather too. A lot of this has to do with wisdom, energy coming from grandfather's sky. In the reverse, the feather that the wren is holding in its mouth is facing upward. If the card was drawn in the vertical, upright, the feather would be facing down toward the earth. But with the card in reverse, the feather is pointing up. And that the wren is sitting on a limb, telling us that he's grounded to Grandmother Earth. Yeah. Okay. And let's see, right about here is actually land. I'm sorry, water. You got some stones there, like on a in the background it would be like kind of like mountains or hills. And right here is water. But in the reverse, it doesn't look that way. And water is all about emotion. So, Rochelle, I think you said it most aptly, is you feel confused. There's so much going on in this card upside down that our mental mind has a challenge to try to make heads or tails of it, right? What's really there? Julie's saying the feather was the first thing I noticed today. Mine was the lightning. Yeah, the first. Yeah, not the fist, but the first. Got that one. Yeah. It's very interesting. And they also talk about the story of the eagle and the wren. And the last time we had this card in the upright, we kind of went over that story. And a shortened version of that is that those who fly, the birds, were having a challenge on who was going to be known as king of the birds. And to be able to do that, they had to fly, who flies the highest, right? And so they were all in competition, and they were trying to see who could fly the highest. And that bird who could fly the highest was closer to God or the Creator. And they were all giving it a go, right? They were all trying. And then so the eagle steps up and basically, is kind of cocky about it, right? Knowing that, he's got a bigger wingspan and that he's got more lift, and yeah, he's going to be able to fly closer to the Creator. And so as he's flying, he doesn't know that he has a hidden passenger, that the wren hitched a ride. And because he's so little, the eagle never felt him. And so when the eagle flew as high as he possibly could and couldn't go any higher, the wren came out from hiding and flew just a little bit above the eagle. And that's how he became known as the king of the birds, is because he flew higher than the eagle. But he used the eagle to get up to that height. Now, that is using cunning. That is using your wit. That is using how can I get this done the best way possible? How fast can I get it done? How high can I go? And thinking outside the box, really, right? Finding that solution or resolution that doesn't necessarily follow the rules sometimes. Yeah. So the wren hid in under the feathers of the eagle. And when the eagle got tired and couldn't fly any higher, is when the wren came out and flew just a little bit higher than the eagle. And I think that's a really good example, a sample of using somebody for your own gain, right? Using your wit in a bad way. Yeah. So, in the reverse, it could be that you're misusing your wit, using it as a whip more than trying to help solve situations, or maybe being passive aggressive or sarcastic. Right? Using others to benefit yourself. Taking credit for the work of others. Oh my God, that's a good one, isn't it? How many of you have worked with a person? Hello, Mark. Good to have you here. Have worked with a person or people who will take credit for other people's work. I think we probably have all experienced that, and what it feels like to be on the either the receiving end of that, or even as a witness. You get kind of this, this frustrated maybe, or this feeling. Maybe it's trying to find justice, right? That this person is taking credit when they didn't do the work. That's a part of this, the wren upside down. But what can you do about it, right? Because sometimes it's your supervisor. What can you even do about it? Or if this is truly about you and your humility. How do you balance it out? Or perhaps it's that hiding behind humility rather than stepping out and using your gifts. Yeah. That little bird, my goodness, brought a lot of information. And the fact that he's so connected to the Druids, as all animals are, yes, but this little wren has Druid in his name. Drui-en. All right. That's Wren. I'm going to get another drink. Got some tea today. It's good tea, too. Rochelle saying, I've had my supervisor taking credit for my work. Yeah, and it makes you angry, doesn't it? Yeah. It's misuse of power when that person is in a position of authority. It's a misuse of power if you're manipulating someone else. Yeah, a misuse of power. So if you are self-aware and you find yourself in that situation, what can you do about it? How can you balance it, right? If you're hiding, how do you come out of hiding? if you're hiding behind your humility, if you're using your wit in a negative way, in a less than positive way, how do you change that? Yeah. Mark is asking, wonder what star nation I am from. That's a good question. That's a good question. You know, back in the day, Mark, back in the day, and we're talking, you know, our ancestors, many, many generations back. We're all indigenous. We're all indigenous to somewhere. It might not be this particular continent, you know, Turtle Island, or it could your ancestors were indigenous to a different continent, whether it was the European continent or the Australian continent or African continent, or, you know, we were indigenous to some place. Our people were, our ancestors were. And they have creation stories. We all do have creation stories. And it's in those creation stories that we can locate information about our star nation and where we're from, and this and the light language that we spoke at one time. It's the indigenous language. Yeah, so that's a good question, Mark. Wonder what star nation I am from. I happen to know that I'm from Sirius. My soul was conceived on the planet Sirius. Sirius B. Yeah. Off world, definitely. Off this star, because Earth is a star. You know, if we were on a different planet, another star, looking in the direction of Earth, we would see Earth as a star. Yeah. And so, you know, when we're in a physical body, we have our ancestry, our ancestors' lineage, right? We carry their DNA. We carry their wisdom and their trauma in our blood and our bones. It's part of our soul contract, what we came here to do, and to be. They're saying, and to be. When we're not in a physical body, and we're possibly, you know, more on our home planet, our home star, we're having a completely different experience, right? Yeah. The in-between lives. Kind of like that. So, yeah. Okay. So you were told Andromeda. Well, good. That's something to get to know. Do a little research. Do some meditation. Ask your spiritual team about it, because you have guidance right on your spiritual team that know about Andromeda. Your guardian angel, if that's what you call them, you know, has been with you from the time that your soul was conceived, and will be with you your entire existence. And so they know exactly your life story, your soul story, right? Yeah. So you can have a chat with them. Go into meditation. Do that, and let us know, because you can tell us your story. Rochelle says, I started writing memos about our discussion, then I had proof. Yeah, that paper trail. That paper trail. I remember those days, Rochelle, you know, when I worked for both the state and the county. Yeah, I remember those days. Sometimes. Yeah. All right, so here's Wren. Now, whoops. Oh, man. The card fell out. Rats. Now I got to find the page. Here it is. All right. So here's the second card. Now, the second card supports the first one, the message from the first one, right? And so the second card came in the upright position. Look who came back to visit. Blackbird. Blackbird. Yeah. The Gaelic word for blackbird is Druid Dhubh. I want to make sure that I say that correctly. Blackbird. Or as close as correctly as possible, since I don't speak Gaelic. Druid Dhubh. Druid Dhubh. Druid Dhubh is the Gaelic word for blackbird. The words associated with blackbird is enchantment, the gateway, the inner call. The gateway, the inner call, and enchantment. The card shows a blackbird sitting on a rowan tree. It is twilight, and the first stars are just appearing in the sky. In the background, we see the entrance to an enchanted cave. Druid Dhubh is the bird of both the gateway and the forage. Forge, forage. Druid Dhubh calls to us from the gateway between two worlds, urging us to follow a spiritual path or to become more self-aware. He calls to us in the twilight, showing us the path to the otherworldly secrets, pointing out the ways in which we can discover more about our hidden motivations and potential. All right, I'm going to say that again, because that's a sentence that jumped out at me, okay? It says, showing us the path to the otherworldly secrets, pointing out the ways in which we can discover more about our hidden motivations and potential. There are times in life when it's important to concentrate on the outer world and your responsibilities in that world. But there are also times when you must attend to the haunting song of your soul, which calls to you to study of spiritual truths, to an exploration of the inner world through the dreams and myths. And heeding Druid Dhubh's song, you will discover healing and new depths of your soul. All right. Honestly, I think the way these two cards are working together, these two birds are working together for us to take a look at our hidden gifts, our treasures, our potential. If we're obscuring them by hiding behind a false sense of humility, or if we're misusing our power and our wit and manipulating, that's hiding our true gift because we're using it in a negative way. Yeah, let's see. That's the best way to show it. And the thing is just taking a deep breath in, okay? And just taking in the information that you're seeing, you're sensing, feeling with these two cards together and the message that's coming through for you. And being honest with yourself. You don't have to say it out loud to anybody, but to yourself. Because Druid Dhubh, the blackbird, is here to be able to help us to understand and maybe even balance out what we're doing in the reverse with the Wren, with Drui-en. Both birds have a strong connection to the Druids. I mean, for goodness sake, the blackbird has it right in his name. And the Gaelic name is Druid Dhubh. Isn't that something? All right. All right, let's see. Mark is saying, I don't know how to pronounce this, Mark, on Tajedin, Palladian. Okay. And he says that his guides never talk to him. Yeah. Maybe talking, we have to expand that meaning a bit because they're showing you you're not alone. They're communicating with you, but it might not be through, you might not bringing in the information through your physical ears, on the East Coast, there is a tribal nation, Native American tribe called the Onondaga. They're part of the Iroquois Confederacy. The Haudenosaunee is what they call themselves in that confederacy. And they have a saying about putting your thin ears on, your thin, Thin, thin ears on. And that means listening to spirit, because we don't hear them necessarily through our physical ears necessarily. Okay. But they are communicating with you, Mark. They are. I have no doubt about that. Because every single one of us, we have a spiritual team who assist us, and they can't interfere. They can't on their own, right? They can only come and help us if we ask for it, if we ask for their help. But they're showing us things all along the way. They're called synchronicities. They're called signs. Take a look if you have a chance, if you have time. Maureen Mann's her live stream show is called Angel Therapy. In her show this past Thursday, she was talking about angel signs. And it's really about spirit talking to us through signs. And sometimes we miss them. We do. Because we're too busy in our life, and we're unfocused, we're ungrounded, and so a lot of times we miss them. Had 4,800. Oh my goodness, so you're a very old soul, huh? That many lives. That's a lot. That's a lot of karma to balance out. Hey, thank you, Stephanie. She put in some information about Blackbird. Good one, thank you. And more, she's resource number 2. She's really good at resources and that research. Hello, Kaylee. Good to have you here. Oh, you know what? We don't do individual cards on this particular show. This is about a group card. Actually, 2 of them today. We don't do individual card readings. And yeah, if you enjoy that, we do have other shows here at Star Nations. We have 4 different shows that do individual card readings. We have it's called Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay on Wednesday, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. There's a healing meditation first, and then she does card draws, individual mini readings. So you get one card, and she'll do a reading for you. That's on Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern. We also have Angel Therapy with Maureen Mann the last Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern, and the second half of her show, she does card readings, angel card readings. And then we have the third Monday of the month, we have the Tarot Journey with Julie Hedges. And she will do tarot card readings the second half of her show. Not every show, but almost, I would say, out of the year, she probably does it 6 or 7 times. Those are the kind of card readings. So if you enjoyed that, my suggestion is to come and join us in the chat room for that one. Yeah. And the soonest one that's coming up is this coming Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Okay. Go to Polly Jo's fan page, which is called Chakra Sessions, right? Like it and get the notifications, and Facebook will notify you so you remember. Okay. All right. Hope to see you in the chat, Kaylee. Good. See, our social media manager Stephanie, she's on it. Look what she did, Kaylee. She gave you all that information. How cool is that? Thank you, Stephanie, for helping Kaylee out that way. All right. So taking a look at these two cards together, right? Really taking it in and how it feels to you. Where do you feel what you're looking at through all of your senses, not just your physical eyes, but really taking it in through all of your bodies, all of your senses, sensing, feeling, seeing, hearing, the light language, the information coming to you, both the seen and unseen. And just really kind of notice it. Where do you feel an energetic sensation in your body when you're looking at the cards? What kind of thoughts are moving through your mind about the cards? What draws you in? Because even though your mental mind might be going, what is that? Especially the one that's upside down. That one's a challenge, okay? That you are taking in the information. And from what the author has given to us, we know that the Wren is about humility, and it's about our native wit, cunning. And so in the reverse, it's asking us to be more self-aware of what our behavior is, what our thoughts are, how we use our innate gifts. Are you using your wit to be helpful and positive, or are you using your wit in a sarcastic, demeaning, or manipulative way? And to be honest with yourself about it. Sometimes we do it more passive aggressively than outright, right? And if you recognize that, if you see it or sense it in yourself, that's the first step, is to acknowledge it. It's like, oh man, I do that. I do that when, okay? And list what that is. When I have a headache, when I'm really tired, when I'm with a certain group of people, when I've been drinking, right? It's about being self-aware and being able to adjust that. Delete those negative thoughts. If you're hiding behind your humility and not taking responsibility for the application of your gifts, then you're going to have to call in your team and say, how do I come out of hiding? How do I come out of the closet with my spiritual gifts, the gifts that I came in with? The bigger question is, why are you hiding? That's something to work on. Maybe you have something to heal. And once it's healed and released, you can step more fully into the application of your gifts and really start living your life, right? Yeah, so to me, that is joyful. Just even saying it out loud, can feel the happiness behind it, Yeah, to really start living your life. Yeah. And Blackbird, Druid Dhubh is assisting us in that. Yeah. Oh my goodness, at the top of the hour already. It went by really fast. Got a couple of things I want to share with you guys, okay, before we take off for the day. Well, first of all, if anything resonated with you in our chat today, in sharing the information and having the spiritual conversation in the chat room, is to please embrace it. Bring it close and embrace it, and really ask yourself those questions. And if there is something there that resonates with you, is to see how the energy unfolds around you today and where this information could be helpful, right? And if it didn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. There's no reason to stress about it, right? And you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings by saying it didn't resonate with me. That's okay. It's all right. There's always tomorrow's card. to resonate with. And maybe you're a messenger instead. Maybe you were meant to hear it, hear the information so you could share it with somebody that you know that maybe been looking for the information, right? Yeah. All right. So there's a couple things coming up for Star Nations. So let's stay with the card reading for just a minute, the group card. We've been using this particular deck since February 1st, Imbolc, St. Bridget's Day. This has been so much fun using this deck, learning about Druidry, a little bit of the Gaelic language. Right? We're going to be moving to a different deck starting tomorrow. And I believe I'm going to, I'm being drawn back to the Sacred Path cards. Okay. And so we'll start using that deck in the morning. For tomorrow afternoon's card draw, or for a live stream at 3 p.m. Okay. So if you enjoy the Sacred Path deck, we're going to be using that one probably for at least a month. Yeah, there you go. And we have a couple of live stream shows coming up for you this coming week. On Tuesday at noon is Polly Joe's show, Polly Joe LeBay's show, Chakra Sessions at noon. And that particular show is very, it's like a class in a way, because she teaches us about our chakras and about a certain topic, and then she does a healing meditation after that. And so on Tuesday, she's sharing with us expanding the intuitive flow. And that's at noon Eastern time, okay? She says, looking for clarity in your relationships, job, or life, ? It may be time to expand your intuitive flow. There are multiple channels of energy that connect to your psychic sense, and are they all open and in alignment? And she says, let's find out. It's going to be a good show. Yeah, I'll be in the chat. We'll be chatting it up. All right. And then that evening, Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. is my weekly show called Communications from Home. And what we're going to be talking about in Communications from Home is spring cleaning. Spring cleaning. Now, there's all kinds of spring cleanings. Why is it important to clear or refresh your template of your home? That's number one. But it's much more than that. There's so many different aspects of our life that we can do some spring cleaning around. And so we're going to talk about that and maybe give you guys some suggestions, okay, some tips. On Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. is Soul Connections with Polly Joe LeBay. And that's the one I was telling you about, where she does the healing meditation first. And then the second half of the show is about the card draw. 7 p.m. Eastern is when that is. Okay. So we have those 3 shows coming up this week. It's kind of a light week for shows. There's only 3 of them. Last week was horrendous. I don't know. How many did we have? I don't know. 6 shows. No, more than that. 9 shows last week. So anyway, we're also working on the Star Nations magazine, the April issue, coming out on April 10th. And I think you guys are really going to like this one a lot. So we're working on that. And also, there was something else I was going to share with you. Rats. I forget. Maybe I'll come back. There's always tomorrow. We can talk about it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And hopefully you'll join me tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time for the daily live stream and the group card draw. Okay. Enjoy your Sunday. And who knows? We might see each other again somewhere else in a chat room. You never know. So Bama Mina, until we see each other again. Okay. Love you guys.